provide you with a primer of sorts on big data analytics, specifically as it relates to supply chain management. I suspect most of you are familiar with big data analytics to some degree, so I'm not going to spend a great deal of time on the primer, but big data analytics is such a hot topic today that it can be applied in so many ways. I think it's important to level set with our definition and our application of the term. After the primer, I'm going to walk you through our recently released solution called Precise Predictive Logistics, otherwise known as P2L. First, just a quick snapshot of TransVoyant. We were founded in 2012. We're headquartered in Alexandria, Virginia. Of course, we're in the big data analytics space. One interesting fact about our company, we collect and process over 1 trillion real-time events around the globe each day. I bring that up at the outset because it's such an important part of our core value proposition, which we'll talk about more later. Our customers include IBM, Brooks Running, Gap, many U.S. national security customers, to name a few. So what do we do? Fundamentally, at the end of the day, we apply advanced analytics to real-time big data. And we provide companies with a live picture of their goods in motion, very accurate estimated times of arrival, and the ability to predict and avoid supply chain disruptions in the future. So, what is real-time big data analytics? It's collecting and analyzing massive real-time big data streams around the world in order to gain some transformational insights about what's happening right now, what happened in the past, and what's going to happen in the future. As we all know, with the advent of the Internet of Things, there's a nearly limitless source of data to be collected and analyzed today. Events and data elements such as real-time locations of aircraft, ocean vessels, trucks, and rail cars, as well as port congestion, air traffic, air congestion, flight schedules, weather, temperature, wind speeds, wave heights, natural disasters, customs clearance times. I mean, the list goes on and on. The point is, collecting and analyzing all this data in real time provides organizations with a level of intelligence they never had before. And using this intelligence to inform decisions related to both strategy and operations is extremely powerful. TransVoyant collects this data from a number of sources, some of which include sensors and packages, and on conveyances, as well as RFID devices, satellites, radars, smartphones, meters, process control devices, video cameras, drones. You can see the list here. Our heritage in national security was the forcing function that drove us to develop this robust data collection competency. In fact, to our knowledge, we have the largest repository of real-time big data in the world. So how does all this relate to supply chain management? As we know, supply chain professionals are tasked with getting the right goods to the right places at the right times at the lowest possible cost. And when you think about the end-to-end supply chain, from end-tier foreign suppliers to forwarders to international carriers to brokers, customs clearance, inland transportation, manufacturing, warehousing, and last-mile delivery to the customer, it's awfully complex. There's a great deal of coordination that needs to take place as the goods trade hands between these partners and facilities. And it's extremely difficult to get the goods where they need to be just in time to meet the plan or to fulfill the order. And one disruption along the way, or one blind spot, has a ripple effect down the line. And with the strain of omnichannel and expectations by customers now for next-day delivery, it's putting a tremendous strain on companies' supply chains. And with that strain weighing heavily, supply chain traditionalists are struggling. This diagram illustrates the challenge. EDI today, as we know, is the primary mechanism through which companies receive status updates on shipments. In this diagram, the journey of the conveyance is represented by the blue line. The actual location of the truck, airplane, or ocean vessel is represented by the orange dot. Now, when a consignee receives a shipment status update via EDI from their carrier or 3PL, they believe the shipment is at a point in the journey represented by the green box. But because EDI status updates are notoriously latent, they're well off the mark. The shipment's actually ahead of where they think it is, And latent status updates and extended blind spots are the bane of a supply chain professional's existence. There's no way to confidently plan downstream supply chain operations or to quote accurate estimated times of arrival to customers when you don't know where your goods are and you don't have confidence about when they're going to arrive. Now, worst of all, what happens when a shipment encounters an unanticipated disruption, such as bad weather, a traffic delay, port congestion, or even a stop by a steamship captain at a port that was unscheduled? Given latent status updates, the consignee doesn't find out about these issues until well after the fact, and then the supply chain manager's options around remediation are significantly limited. So how do companies offset this uncertainty? They offset it with buffer stock, expedited shipments, rush orders, and customer discounts. Now, there are a handful of people that are taking a very innovative approach to this challenge, and they found a way to track the goods transit live in real time. And so in this diagram, we can see that the green box is telling the consignee exactly where that shipment is right now. The value of that, of course, is significant. I can quote much more accurate times of arrival to my customers. I can plan my downstream operations to a much tighter degree. I can make much better and more informed supply chain decisions. Now, futurists are taking this challenge even further. And the futurists are not only being able to track the goods in real time as they move whatever conveyance they may be on all the way from the supplier to the end customer delivery, they're also able to apply advanced analytics, predictive analytics, to find out where that shipment is going to be at a certain point in the future. And if I know that, and I also can predict what disruptions are going to potentially happen to that shipment down the road, I can avoid those disruptions altogether. I can get very forward thinking about orchestrating my downstream operations with a high degree of confidence. And that's really what we're talking about here. And that's exactly what our precise predictive logistics solution does. We've amassed, as I said, the world's largest repository of real-time big data, made possible largely through our intelligence community heritage. We're pinging and collecting big data streams, cleansing the information we gather, and formatting it for ingestion in our advanced analytics engine. The advanced analytics engine applies very sophisticated machine learning algorithms to produce predictive insights related to probable supply chain disruptions, alternative routes, lanes, carriers, and suppliers that I might employ to avoid those disruptions. And then the insights that P2L produces and the detailed recommendations we make are passed seamlessly to supply chain planning and execution systems, ensuring that our insights are carried out and the results are realized within the business. It's not, a sidebar science project. This is, these insights need to result in real business value. And this entire process is supported by our world-class data scientists. And those data scientists are not just concerned with ensuring that our deployments are successful and customers realize the value that they expect at the outset. Our data scientists are also training our customers to be big data analytics power users. So after we leave, there is a core competency within the organization to go and apply this in new ways and learn new things about the business and drive more predictive analytics. And it's very powerful to do that in-house by yourself. So let's get into more detail about how P2L works. As I mentioned, we're collecting, cleansing, and packaging massive amounts of real-time big data around the globe every day. And we've already taken you through what some of those data elements are and what some of those sources of the data are that we're collecting from. Now, as a result of that, P2L already knows the current and predicted locations of aircraft, ocean vessels, trucks, rail cars. Therefore, all P2L needs to start tracking shipments and delivering predictive insights is a bill of lading. We don't need to go through any data mapping exercises with carriers, 3PLs, or other trading partners, nor do we need to go through any data normalization or cleansing exercises specific to your company or shipments. We've already done that. We've already done that cleansing, normalization of the data as part of our standard data ingestion process. Therefore, it really, is all that we need is the bill of lading number to get started. So once P2L has a bill of lading number, it links it with the associated conveyance, the carrier, the route, the information, this information about the carrier and the route and the shipment is already within our system by virtue of the fact that we've collected the big data already and we know where these conveyances are, and all we need to do is link them with the bill of lading. Then P2L uses predictive analytics to peer forward in time at all the points along the scheduled journey, identifying probable disruptions. In this case, P2L knows the real-time location of an ocean vessel headed for Shenzhen. Headed from Shenzhen to the port of Long Beach. The vessel is currently where the yellow dot is along the scheduled journey, and P2L knows the route the vessel will take to get to Long Beach. And looking out along that route and applying predictive analytics, it knows the shipment is going to encounter two issues. First, it will encounter heavy seas with swells about 18 feet high, resulting in a 5-day delay. Now, how does P2L predict a 5-day delay? Over the years, we've monitored and modeled thousands of vessels along that same shipping lane, many of which have experienced similar wave conditions. So, with our machine learning algorithms at play, we've learned from the historical journeys and can factor that intelligence into a very accurate delay time of arrival for this journey under those conditions. Beyond the delay associated with the first issue, the heavy seas, P2L sees that the port of Long Beach will be congested when the vessel finally does arrive. And that congestion will result in another 3-day delay. Knowing that the ocean shipment will be 8 days late in total, P2L now recommends options for getting additional supply, in this case the parts tied to a critical customer order on the bill of lading, to the customer on time. And again, in this case, P2L recommends expedited freight. The first option is an air cargo flight out of Qingdao Airport, and the second is an air cargo flight out of Quanzhou Airport. Both of these are headed for LAX. Now, P2L delivers these insights to users via the graphical control tower that you see here in the screenshot, and it also passes these recommendations directly to supply chain systems for execution. And then, of course, as the shipments move, wherever they are, whatever conveyance they are, wherever they are in the globe, P2L is tracking them in real time and providing status updates and very accurate ETAs based upon predicted disruptions ahead in the journey. So again, in this case, P2L identifies a construction delay on a trucking route from LA to San Francisco, and it recommends an alternate route that's predicted to be free of disruptions. P2L ultimately confirms delivery of the shipments, and it also provides insights concerning supplier, lane, ported carrier performance, supply chain bottlenecks, and cycle time analysis, and a host of other insights that supply chain managers and senior executives can use to transform their businesses. What does this mean to your business? For years, I've been in the supply chain space for a long time, actually, 25 years at this point. Supply chain professionals have been talking about this dream of committing inventory in transit, about marrying dynamic demand with supply in motion. Having supply, instead of necessarily even kind of a make-to-order environment or a make-to-forecast environment, having supply in transit and being able to allocate that down to the customer order before it may even be in possession or on the books of the consignee. And that dream, of course, is very powerful. And given the pressures of omnichannel, extremely short product life cycles, next day delivery today, never has that capability been needed more. But the fact is, you cannot confidently commit inventory in transit or marry dynamic demand with supply in motion without knowing exactly where your goods are in real time at every step along the journey from supplier to end door. And that's what P2L does. P2L makes that aspirational vision a reality, and consequently we're enabling our customers to commit inventory in transit using global inventory in motion across all modes of transport, orchestrate downstream supply chain operations based on shipments in transit, effectively coordinate shipment handoffs between trading partners across modes, being able to alert the dray carrier that the ocean vessel is 2 days out and it will be arriving right on time, so get ready to pick the goods up. Being able to confirm my manufacturing schedule with a high degree of confidence, knowing that my critical parts are going to arrive right when they're needed. Accurately track and forecast the arrival of critical parts. Quote very accurate times of arrivals to customers. And then predict and avoid supply chain disruptions. And when you are able to do those things, the resulting benefits from both an operational and financial perspective are significant. As a proof point, I'd like to walk you through a use case for one of our customers, a Fortune 50 high-tech manufacturer. Their challenge was they had no real-time visibility of air inbound orders from their 90 suppliers in Asia. The only milestones, and those milestones were limited, that they were receiving were via EDI. They had no collaborative solution providing real-time visibility and accurate ETAs to their end customers for their 140,000 plus shipments a year. And at the end of the day, that was the real driver here, was to enable them to provide much more accurate estimated times of arrival to their key distributors, who were their key customers. And the other issue that they had was they had no real-time visibility into short orders until they arrived and they were picked up at the DC port. And with P2L, I didn't really talk about this earlier in the presentation. We, in addition to knowing the live locations of the shipments picked up from the BOL, we also know about short orders. As soon as those goods arrive at the port of departure or at the airport of departure, we know if your order has been shorted. So this company deployed TransVoyant from an air perspective, which we enabled them to track their shipments from Asia to their final customer delivery in real time. And by virtue of being able to do that, we enabled this company to remove 3 days from their order cash cycle time and 2 days from their product line days in inventory. And again, the size of company we're talking about here and the volumes of that inventory is significant. So, I've had the opportunity to meet with a lot of senior level executives at Fortune 500 companies following our recent launch of P2L. And I have to say that over the course of those discussions, I've been met with some skepticism regarding P2L's ability to do what I just described, to locate and track a shipment with nothing more than a bill of lading number. Therefore, before we move into the Q&A, I'd just like to throw out an opportunity to anybody on this webinar to validate that claim with us. And so for those of you who are interested, I'd invite you to email us either 10 master airway bill numbers or 10 ocean bill numbers for shipments of your choice, and we'll run those through P2L. and we will get back to you with the location of those shipments and their estimated times of arrival. And you can send those bills to the email address listed here, and we will get back to you very shortly with that information. And if you find that compelling, we can continue the conversation. Of course, include your contact information in the email so we can send that information back to you and communicate with you. Okay, so that is what I wanted to present. I think we'd like to now open it up to Q&A. We have plenty of time for Q&A here, and I'm happy to answer any and all questions. Heather?
Great, thanks, Scott. And just as a reminder, if you would like to ask a question, please type it into the question or chat box to the right of the screen. Did have a couple questions come in during the presentation. So let's see here. First off, when delivering the solution, do you need customers to provide a list of which carriers we use to see if TransVoyant supports them?
No, we do not, actually, and I can see where that question is coming from, because that in the supply chain visibility, the traditional supply chain visibility world, that's usually the first thing that happens when deploying an SCV solution is the vendor does a kind of a mapping exercise where they map the EDI data that you're interested in collecting from the carriers into their solution to make sure that they're collecting all of the data points that you're interested in, to make sure that they have all of the carriers within their network that you're interested in. We don't need to do any of that. The reason we don't is because we are already tracking the shipments for and the vessels and aircraft and trucks for anybody that you would be using today. So that's a step we do not have to do, and that's, of course, that's a significant time to value benefit for our customers.
Okay. Next question here. Do you do the booking as well within your solution?
No, we do not. That's why we seamlessly integrate with supply chain planning and execution systems. The booking is done outside of our solution. We only need the bill of lading number and the airway bill number to use our kind of platform booking service to know which carrier is shipping it. But at the end of the day, when we do things like making recommendations, as I highlighted here in the deck earlier about alternative expedited shipments, or adjusting the route on a truck shipment, or maybe even suggesting a different truck route, all of those insights need to be executed by supply chain planning and execution system. And again, that's why we've worked very hard to develop that tight integration with those systems.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see here. Do you do parcel tracking for UPS or DHL?
Yes, as well as FedEx. We have API set up with the large parcel tracking, with the parcel delivering services that enable us to pull in their milestones via EDI messages. Yeah.
Okay. And okay, one more question here. How long does a normal setup take?
Well, I already kind of talked about the time to value on just giving us a bill of lading. This is not kind of what you would think of as your typical enterprise software solution, in that there's very little setup required. There's very little, if any, mapping required. I know it's hard to believe, but it's really as simple as giving us your bill of lading numbers, finding a way to pass those to us. Some people are passing those to us electronically via integration. Other people want to use web forms. That's step one. And then the only other data input we might require from you is any big data that you are collecting that you think is unique to your environment that you would like us to process with our analytics engine as well. And usually what happens is we come in, we collect the bill of lading numbers, we give them immediate value relative to tracking shipments live, driving estimated times of arrival, avoiding disruptions, and then over time, as the company gets smarter about how their environment is operating, for example, what happens all the time is a customer will realize, well, wait a minute, I've been using a 25-day lead time for planning purposes on this lane for the last 3 years, and and I've even kind of had that delivery time validated by the actual arrival times that my carriers are telling me they're arriving on. We discover that those arrival times that they're being quoted are actually not terribly accurate, and we know what their actual arrival times are. So instead of a 25-day lead time, consistently it may be more like a 21-day lead time. And how much value, right, is there to be able to squeeze out that extra 4 days of planning time when you can be very confident that your goods are going to arrive in 21 days and not 25 days? So that's kind of a long-winded way of answering that question. Very short setup time, very short time to value, and then over time we can explore other areas and give you more predictive insights.
Okay, I think that about wraps up the Q&A that I've seen come in so far.
Okay, wonderful. I would like to thank you all again for attending, and I would like to invite you to take advantage of that bill of lading offer. And I hope to see everybody on future webinars hosted by TransVoyant.